Hi guys, I am back with my latest album. It is a family album and I am doing a tutorial for this one. After I do the walkthrough, it'll move into the materials list and then the video tutorial will start. Okay, for the front we have family and then it's our story. And then I have the little baby hand, and there's mom and then dad in the back there. You can change the letters. I do have in the description, I have a link for the letters, for the hand, the baby hand, and then the mom and dad, they're the same hand. I just do different sizes, like the dad is 7" and the mom is 6.5", which I think I go through go over in the tutorial. And then I have a link for the paper and also this faux suede. Now I use blue, but you can change the colors. I think it was from Etsy. I think she had like about 10 or so different colors, so you can change it up, like if you want it to be pink and then instead of family you could do it's a girl, or the blue it's a boy, and then just change your paper accordingly. So that's the front. And then the side I don't really have anything on either, and then my a little handmade stamp. Okay, for our first page I tried, I didn't use any embellishments in the album. I wanted to make the tutorial so it could cover anybody, beginner or someone who's been doing it for a while. I do have my fabric spine that y'all know I like so much. And then it has the stitching. I go over that. I teach you how to do that. If you don't want to do the fabric spine, then you can do the paper, but you will have to know how to do a paper spine because I don't go over that. All right, first page. So we have a large pocket, and I made a lot of folders for putting as many pictures as possible. And then one of the stickers, Gracie, my cats are fussing at each other back there. And then I also put a little bookmark. I know people normally read books electronically, but I used to do it a lot, so I just added it back in. Okay, then right here we have a flap like such with the magnetic closure, and then we have these curved here are for photo mats on each side. Alright, on this page we have a large pocket on this side, and some of the large pockets I did put some little ribbons, so whoever gets this album, they know that's something that needs to be pulled out. And we got a couple of stickers. Guys! Gracie, here, Riley. And then I took this piece and just popped it up. Probably can't tell, but it's popped up on some foam. Alright, so this side folds over. Alright, get in there. Okay. Then we have a large belly band with more of the cutouts and the little folders. Then I took the stickers, spelled family. We have a large page here, and then this one also has a pocket. And I made a large one, and then some smaller ones, and they just fit down inside here. And then that opens again. And I have a little tuck spot here with some paper and then one of the stamps. So that's the first page. Alright, on our next page we have the little cutouts from the collection, and I just made a waterfall like such. And then on the bottom we have a little ribbon tie. And then that goes up. And we have a little tiny like pocket, tuck spot, whichever you want to call it, with a little ribbon. And that's the sticker from the collection. Alright, on our next page, I have centered one of the cutouts and then some stickers. This one, Moments Like This, and then a couple little pieces from the collection. And then this stamp has a magnetic closure, and it opens like such. And then this side opens. And we have a large pocket here with more folders, photo mats. And then on this side there's a large pocket, but I think I made it too big, so my solution, there's another bookmark. My solution for that was I took the stickers and put it on some white cardstock, and then I just glued it at the top, and it made like a little thing. And so I put that, and it helps them to not fall in. I did it with this one also. And you can just slide a photo underneath it. Okay, so then that closes like that, and then this entire thing, he goes up. Then we have a large pocket with photo mats, some of the stickers. I thought this paper here was so cute, and then large room for a lot of photos there. So the next page, we have like a sideways waterfall, which is also a flap. And then it opens. Cats, stop! Dang it! Alright, it opens to a pocket here. More photo mats and the cutouts. And then this one, I just have one of the cutouts. It's backed with black, and then I have it kind of put up, give a little dimension on some foam dots or chipboard. Sometimes I use chipboard. And then this opens, and you have all this room here for photos. And then this page flap out, has fold outs with some of the stickers. Whoops. And it's a magnetic closure. On the last page, I did a large pocket here at the top. I stuck one of the smaller photo mats, but what I did was I made like a folder, and it has magnets, so it'll stay in place with little tabs on the end, and then they just open for photos. And then you just slide this back part inside there. Alright, so next we'll go on to the materials list, and then we'll go ahead and start the tutorial. So for the materials list, of course I started with paper. I used Echo Park Family, and I really liked the colors on it. Of course, my album I'm making more of like a family. If you want to do baby boy, baby girl, and coordinate your paper with that, of course you're more than welcome to. But this is the paper that I'm using. Now if you do try to find this paper, I can only get it at echopark.com. I don't know if it's discontinued or about to be discontinued, but that's the only place that I could find it. I did try to order the ephemera with it, but then it came back that it was out of stock. And then that's the sticker sheet. Now the coordinating cardstock that I got is from Michaels, the Recollection, and it is Natural Palette. And I thought the colors really went well. I'm not sure exactly yet which one I'm going to use, but that's what I have for that. For the fabric, I got the fabric on Etsy, and it's of course a faux suede, and it's really thin. I will put the link down in the comments in case you want to just go ahead and get the same type that I get, just to be safe. She had like 20 different colors, so I'm sure you could find one to match what you want to do, but it needs to be really thin and it needs to have a bit of stretch to it. That would help. But if you do use the link or Etsy location that I used, when you go to order and they have a place to put notes for the seller, ask them not to put a label on your fabric. I can't get this off, and I'm sure for some people maybe they can wash it and it comes off, but I don't normally wash my fabric because, you know, it's for an album. Yeah, I'll have to mess with that or go around it. Also, you need a very thin, I think this is muslin. I chose to do the off-white, or you can use the white. I didn't mean to get that. But it just needs to be very flexible. You can see my hand behind it, and very thin. So whichever one you want to use for that. And of course we need chipboard. We need a total of 5 pieces of chipboard, and this is the spine, just a little scrap. Now for the words on the top, I use 405 from Hobby Lobby, and this is a gold in a matte finish, and you'll see the link in the comments for the to put it in a for a file for your Cricut to cut out. So I have the family, and I put some transfer on front of it, and then it's our story. And then of course there's also a link below for your Cricut for your hands in graduating size. It'd be like the husband, the wife, and the little baby fist bump. Now the thickness, I have a laser cutter, so I went ahead and used, with my ruler, I went ahead and used wood, and it is 1/16, I think. Yeah, it is 1/16 of an inch thick. So if you don't have a laser cutter or wood for your Cricut, just cut it out in paper and just glue them together, stack them until you get about 1/16 of an inch or larger. Alright, so let's start with our chipboard. For your front and back cover, you need 2 pieces at 11 by 10. 11 inches tall, 10 inches wide. And you need 2 of those. For the pages, I use chipboard for my pages, and we need 3 of them. So your page needs to be 10 3/4 by 9 3/4, 10 3/4 high, 9 3/4 wide, and we need 3 of those. For your spine, for your heavy chipboard, it needs to be 11 by 2. Alright, now for the lightweight that I was talking about, that's the same as like a cover of a pack of paper, I need you to cut it down to 10 3/4 tall by 2 inches wide, and then take it on your scoreboard and line it up and go down every single notch from 0 to 2 inches. Every single one of them, go through, and then you can see the little ridges there. That's what helps give us the curve for it. So, let me set this aside. I'm going to set the curved one aside for now. We're going to put together our cover and outer spine. So what we need to do is, I need to cut this one down. I haven't done it yet. I actually missed one. Let's see. So your spine's supposed to be 11 by 2. Alright, so grab you a white piece of cardstock. Whoops. Hold on, move. Okay, sorry, it fell underneath the dog. So grab you a white piece of cardstock. I actually need this now. And we're going to make it 11 inches tall. And mine is 11 inches tall. Now the width, we need it at 4.5 inches. And I'll explain why in just a second. Okay, so I got my piece, 11 by 4.5, and then grab your scoreboard again. Whoops, whoops. All right. So we need to score it at 1 inch. And then score it at 1 1/4 inch. So score at 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to just flip it around to try and make my math easier. So flip it around on the other side and score it again at 1 inch. And then score it again at 1 1/4 inch. Alright, so you know, if you buy a hardback book, there's this little divot right before you get to the spine or next to your spine. I don't have any hardbound books to show y'all, but let's go ahead and fold it on the score lines. I guess I'll just give you a visual. All right. So we have our spine, and what we want to do is, if it shows up, between this score line and this score line is 2 inches. So we need to place our chipboard piece inside there and glue it down. Well, so I'm putting it in the center. I'll show y'all. It may be easier to see like this. Sorry, I didn't realize I was that close. So you're going to get this. See that little gap that we made? So we have 1 inch, 1/4 of an inch, then the chipboard, same 1/4 of an inch, and then the outside part. And that little 1/4 of an inch is going to give that little divot that you get whenever you're holding a hard bound book. Alright, so our front and back cover, we need to glue from the outer edge to the first score line, so that's 1 inch. I'm just going to flip mine over. I can be able to see it a little bit better than that white side. Alright, so you can see the 1/4 of an inch there. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side. We're going to do from the back in, but not over the score line. Whoops, make sure you do. I almost did the wrong side. All right. I don't know what's going on. This one's bugging me. Alright, so when we close it, see, it's going to have that 1/4 of an inch little divot. Just makes it look a little more professional, a little detailed, I guess. Alright, so grab your hands. This is another thing I already did that I missed on recording. Go ahead and glue them together, one on top of the other. So we have the larger hand in the back, then the medium-sized hand, and the little baby bump. I don't think I gave you sizes on these. I'm so sorry. I'll put a note when I'm doing the materials list. So my first hand is 7 inches. So that's the largest one. My second hand is 6.5 inches. And then my little baby fist is 2.5 inches. And then just take them and glue them to one another. Okay, so this is going to be our front cover, Belle. What I'm going to do is we need to center our hand and our letters now. We don't need to glue down our letters until after we do our fabric. I just want to visually divide it because the whole thing is white, so I'm just going to put it like to the edge of the chipboard, and that way visually I'm only dealing with this space. I'm not going to get too technical with the measurements of it. It mostly fits with the words that we have. So the family goes at the top. So I'm going to move this down a little bit more. And then it's our story. And of course you can make the words whatever. If you're doing it just like a baby book, stop moving you. If you're doing like just a baby book, you could put like it's boy, it's girl, coordinate your fabric. This one we're doing a family. And it's our story. So I think visually, I'll go a little bit higher. And we'll give you the measurements that I'm coming up with. Just making sure I'm not going over that top edge. Alright. So I'm going to make sure my hand is straight up and down as possible. I'm going to go ahead and make a little mark on the bottom so we know where. I'm going to go ahead and trace the sides, the bottom, and then a little bit of the other side. And then I'll measure it for you guys. Okay, so wow. I'm exactly a ½ inch from the bottom of the chipboard to the bottom of the hand, a ½ inch. Alright, so I'm doing my measurement, let's say it's from this little curve right here on the bottom of the palm. From there to the outer edge, I've got about like 3 1/8. And then from the thumb, I have about 3 1/8. And then we're still, make sure we're up and down, ½ inch from the bottom. So I'm just going to trace that a little bit so I know where to put it back. Alright, so I have mine marked on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back of the hand. And we need to let this dry for a little while because we don't want it to move when we start pressing our fabric down into it. So we'll glue this down and then we'll move on to the inner spine. Okay, I'm going to put it down on my mark and I'm going to go ahead and double check it. Make sure it's even, both sides, a ½ inch. About 3 1/4. That one's about 3 1/8. That's good. Let's see if we got it. I think that's good and centered. We'll have our family, and it's our story. Alright, so let's set that aside, give it some time to dry, because we definitely don't want it to move it around when we're putting our fabric across the top of it. So grab, let me figure out where I put mine, your curved spine. Come on. Let me try and go, there we go. And again, it's 10 3/4 by 2 inches wide. And grab some white cardstock. I've got plenty of scraps to choose from. Oh, this could have been one of them. Okay, I'm going to start, cut it at 10 3/4. And mine is, dang, 10 3/4. And we need the width to be 3/8 of an inch. So it'd be, I don't know if it'll focus. We have 1/4, 1/2, and it's the little notch between the two, 3/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go ahead and just mark it on mine. We will need 4 of them. I'm gonna mark it on here. Pieces, 3/8 of an inch. Now we need to grab our white fabric, the one that I said that needs to be really thin. Let me get all this out of the way. Well, white or cream. I'm using cream. I've cut off this thing a bunch, as you can tell. And fold a straight edge. Alright, so grab your ruler. And of course the height, we're going to get about 10 3/4. We can cut it down a little bit more afterwards. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it's not too small. I'm just going to guess, so I'm doing it like this. Am I still on camera? Okay, so 10 3/4 high, and we need 4 of them. Let's make them 1.5 inch. So there's my height. 10 3/4, 1.5, 2, 3, 4. Said they do not have to be perfect at all. And you don't need to iron it either. This is not going to be seen. Now we need one more piece. We're going to need to go a little bit taller. Well, come on, straighten out. Let's see, 12. Let's go ahead and go 14 inches tall and 2 inches wide. Well, let's go 2 1/4 just to be safe. So 14 tall, 2 1/4 wide. Does not have to be perfect. Alright, so this longer piece that's about 14 long, 2 inches wide, 2 1/4, sorry. We do need to go ahead and iron this one down. So I have mine ironed out. It's about as good as it's gonna get. So grab your 4 pieces of your 3/8 inch cardstock, and then our 4 pieces that we did 1 1/2 inches wide, approximately. Alright, so grab one of your pieces and one of the cardstock, one of your fabric, lay your fabric down. Alright, so we need to glue our cardstock into the center of the fabric, but we need to leave an overhang. Alright, so we need to leave an overhang of about 1/4 inch on both sides. So I'm going to put this one at 1/4, about just guesstimating 1/4 inch. And then on this side, I'm just going to go and make a mark to cut about 1/4 inch below that. Okay, so grab your paper, and we want to put glue on your paper. You don't need a lot because we're going to stitch, well, it's not necessary. You don't have to stitch it, but you don't need a lot of glue if you are going to stitch it. But we don't want to put glue 1/4 inch from each end, you know, where it's not touching the fabric. Sorry. So I have my glue minus the ends. So I'm just going to take it and center it. Alright, so as you can see, I have each end about 1/4 inch smaller with the fabric. So we need to do that with all of their pieces. Those 4 done. Let's go ahead and grab our piece, the curved lightweight cardstock, 10 3/4 by 2. Grab that, and then, whoops, sorry, I meant to go out. And then grab something a little bit heavy. Like I have this metal ruler. We're going to use that. And then also just grab you just a, excuse me, a spare piece of chipboard. But it does need to be at least as high as 10 3/4. Alright, so for our first one, I'm going to take where the paper is, and the left hand corner of the paper, I'm going to put it all the way to the edge. You can see that on both the top and the bottom. And I'm only putting glue. Now this fabric is so thin that I could see where my paper is through it, but if you can't see it well, you can just like grab it, kind of make a U, and just put glue where that paper is on the other side, and go ahead and put glue on these little ends that we didn't do a minute ago. Alright, and again we want the paper, far left corner, to the far left corner of the cardstock on the top and the bottom. And you can see there. And then what we're going to do, what we're going to have is this little fabric kind of flap on the edge. Now take the right side of the fabric flap, and we're just going to move it over, get it out of the way for a minute, and that's where I use my ruler. You can use anything you need just to kind of get it out of the way. Alright, so we're going to grab our next piece and put glue over the entire paper piece showing underneath. Alright, so grab your scrap piece of chipboard, and we're going to put it, hold on, I didn't get the bottom of that. Okay, so we're going to put the chipboard all the way up to that piece of fabric and paper that we just put down, and I want the left hand side of the paper, top and bottom, to go as close to the piece of chipboard as you can. So we go ahead and get it kind of set up on the top and then on the bottom. And as you're pushing the glue down, push like down and towards this little piece of chipboard, sorry. And what we have created now, we take that out, and we have our two little flaps. You can see the gap inside there, and then later on our pages are going to slide in there, and then we're going to glue the two little flaps to the pages. Alright, so moving on to the next one. So now we have our gussets is the white, and then our pages will fit in these three gaps. Now you're going to end up with a little bit chipboard on the edge. I'm just going to move over the flap and cut it on the paper cutter. Just be careful that you're not cutting your fabric. You can use scissors if you want, which is probably a better idea, but I guess I like to live on the wild side. Well, I was trying to hold this. I may end up using scissors anyway. Well, it's not straight. Okay, we're going to use scissors. Alright, so now we have little flaps. These two on the outside are going to connect to the front and back of the covers. So now what we need to do next is grab what paper, design paper that you're going to use. And we're going to put, before we stitch, we're going to put paper, design paper over the white. And we want to make it a little bit smaller than the 3/8 that this one is. So it has like a little white border, kind of like when we do our photo mats. And I don't want to use up a lot of good paper, so I usually try to find, sometimes you can get these little bottom parts that we cut off, but they've got their emblem all over these. Oh, my cat, my dog, hey, my dogs are going to start doing crazy. Okay, so I decided what I want to do. In my paper pack, they have 2 pages of all these tags, which I will not need that many. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the back side of them. And our gusset, our white paper, is 3/8 of an inch. So I think I'm going to go this way. I can't remember what my little mark was. Let me get the first one. I'm going to glue them down. When you finish, if you want to do some stitching, what you're going to do is start on like the right edge and go down and then stitch across and then come up onto the left edge, and we're going to do that for all 4 pieces. And then if you want to wait and see exactly what mine looks like to help you understand, then go ahead and do that. So we'll get that done and be back. Alright, so I have mine stitched, as you can see, down one side, across, and back up the other side. And I have it done on all of 4 pieces. Now for these, the ends are going to be covered up in just a moment, so I'm just going to fold these over and take a glue stick, and I just use a glue stick because it's a lot easier than trying to gather all the thread with that little point of that glue. So we're just going to push them back. And then grab our piece that we ironed. And what we're going to do is glue it down. Flip over probably, and we want some overhang. At least an inch overhang. I think this may be about 1.5 inches, but that's fine too. So I'm going to take my fabric glue. Oh, my little thing's And mine's glue, that glue's purple, but it dries clear. So we're going to put fabric glue just on our little chipboard piece. Alright, because this fabric is so thin, I'm just going to take my pinky and knock that glue down so it doesn't mark through the fabric too much. I'm going to take and center it. Our fabric piece should be a little bit bigger. We'll trim it down. I'm mostly looking at this side and this side to make sure that I have a gap. Alright, going to push that down and then we'll trim up the sides. Make sure you're not, well, my camera won't focus, come on. Make sure you're not getting your flap that we intentionally put there. I'm just cutting this little bit here that's hanging over, so I'm just going to move that flap out of the way with my finger and only cut this piece we just, well, probably better for the front, huh? So we could see it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, I'm going to do the other side, get my flap out of the way. Okay, so I have that cut down. Now we're going to take our ends. I'm just going to cut all this thread that's coming undone. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue down on it and we're going to roll it up and put it over the edge of the chipboard. I'm just going to use this glue, my art glitter glue. So I'm going to put it on the edge of the chipboard because that's what our final destination is going to be. And then I'm just going to spread that a little bit so we don't get too much. Now I'm just going to take the end and just roll it up. If you want to, you could put a wire, a cord, a rope, a little tiny rope in it if it'll help. Just don't put anything that would keep it from curling. I'll show you in just a second what I mean. And I'm just pushing it onto that edge. So you, well, it's not dry yet. Okay, so it needs to move. It needs to curl like this. So don't put like a toothpick or something hard in it that won't allow it to curve. All right, I'm going to cut the ends here just to get some of these frayed threads. Try to even that one out a little bit. And I'm going to put some glue on the end. You can use your Fabri-Tac, that's perfectly fine. And kind of push it together and have it to keep those threads from continuing to unravel. Let me fix this one a little bit more. Here we go. Alright, now we are going to do the same thing for the other side. Little threads all over the place. Now we have our inner spine. So let's move on to our front cover.